For over 1,000 years, ancient builders across the deserts of the American Southwest carved the same mysterious symbol into stone, a perfect T-shaped doorway. It appears in places that it shouldn't, hundreds of miles apart, across cultures that were supposed to have never met. Were these doorways, or a message we've never decoded, but new discoveries, maybe finally uncovering a truth more profound and more mysterious than anyone expected? Archaeologists can trace where they appear, when they spread, and even who built them. But when it comes to what they meant, the truth is still missing. And that is where our mystery begins. I'm Christine. I'm an anthropologist, and you are watching Our Forgotten Past. A T-door is wider at the top, narrow at the base, like a doorway with wings. We see them in places built centuries apart, carved with care, never casual, and never common. When something is rare and deliberate, it carries a message. We just don't know what it's trying to say. These constructions date roughly from about 850 to 1450 CE, overlapping with major Mesoamerican civilizations. During the late Classic to early post-Classic periods, cities like Paquimé existed with Toltec and early Aztec cultures, and their common usage tells us of active regional exchange of both symbols and ideas. The trail starts in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, a city of sandstone, geometry, and precision that rose over 1,000 years ago. Chaco's great houses weren't simple dwellings. They were monumental statements. Hundreds of rooms, perfectly aligned walls, courtyards built to the cardinal directions. And inside those rooms, a handful of T-doors placed exactly where they wanted them. They weren't everywhere. They were precisely chosen locations. Some align across multiple walls, forming sight lines through corridors, as if it meant to frame something, but what or why, we can only guess. If it was only about function, like moving air or carrying bundles of wood, they would be everywhere, but that is not what we find. They are rare and possibly sacred. Chaco wasn't an isolated civilization. Cacao from the tropics was found here, inside tall, cylindrical ceramic vessels that still hold the leaves of the tree's chemical traces. Copper bells from Mexico have also been found, along with shell ornaments from the Pacific coast. Even the bones and feathers of bright tropical macaws, birds that were carried hundreds of miles north across the desert. People were trading, marrying, migrating, and believing a common philosophy. Their ideas and worldviews moved along the same paths with their goods, and the T-door was obviously one of those ideas. Meanwhile, north of Chaco, in the cliff palaces of Mesa Verde, the shape can also be found. But here, they are cut into stone rooms that open toward plazas where public ceremonies unfolded. Again, the T-shape appears where people gathered, where meaning comes to life in the open. Perhaps here, it was the mark of status, or a boundary between the ordinary and the sacred. During this time, but farther south in Mexico, the use of the symbol explodes. At Paquimé, also called Casas Grandes, the T is everywhere. Doorways, windows, altars, and entire structures were built in its form. Here, archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary. 2 freestanding T-shaped stone altars, standing alone inside ritual rooms, each used for offering. The shape had stepped out of architecture and become an object of their belief system. A doorway that no longer led to another room. Now, perhaps, it began to lead to other worlds. Smaller echoes of the shape began to appear too, a handful of ceramic mugs carrying the same cutout through their handles, a miniature tea, shaped with deliberate care and precision. The examples we have are rare. They were difficult to make and clearly spoke to the symbolic nature of the tea. Someone wanted to hold that shape in their hands, but who? The elites? The priests? When the same form repeats in monuments, in pottery, and in altars, it isn't a coincidence. It's a message written in the language of stone and clay. So what did it mean? Archaeologists currently debate three main possibilities, and none of them fit perfectly. Some say it was merely practical, a design that channels wind and light through hot, dark buildings, or makes it easier to carry objects through a doorway. And in part, these theories make sense. But if they were solely practical, why weren't they used for every doorway? And why wouldn't you just make a door that suited your needs instead? Others see it as an identity marker, a way to signify lineage or authority, a visual badge declaring this space is ours and that space is yours. And still a few point to a deeper, older symbolism. The Mesoamerican concept of breath, wind, and spirit, called ehikaro or ik. It is life force passing through a sacred threshold. The T resembles the Mayan glyph for air. Life moving between the worlds of the seen and the unseen. Is that coincidence, or do we have a possible connection? Fundamentally, we don't know. But Paquimé's altars, standing silent in a room made for rituals, suggests that the shape was not just about efficiency. It meant something powerful enough to survive across centuries and cultures. The simplest explanations fall apart under scrutiny. The firewood theory, that the wide top made it easier to carry logs or big bundles inside, doesn't explain why we find tea doors in ceremonial rooms, why they appear in patterns, or why they were carved into altars that no human ever walked through. If it was only convenience, the desert would be filled with tea doors, and it isn't. The truth is, we may never know. Every excavation adds a new fragment, but the language of the builders remains unspoken. We're left with architecture that behaves like memory, preserved and visible, but silent. Maybe the tea door was a sign of prestige. Maybe it was a portal for prayer. Maybe it marked a doorway to the spirit world, or perhaps it was simply a design that caught on for reasons lost to time.
What matters is that it still stops us, a symbol that refuses to give up its meaning. And maybe that's why it draws us in, because every generation needs its own unanswered doorway, a place where the known and the unknown still meet. The people who carved these walls are gone. Their voices are lost to us, but their symbols, they endure, cut into sandstone, as if waiting for someone to finally understand what they were trying to say. If you ever visit these ruins, stand before one of those T-shaped doors and feel how deliberate it is. Imagine what passed through it, and remember, a mystery survives because someone wanted it to. Thank you for the like. Subscribe for the next episode. You're watching Our Forgotten Past, where we will take on the questions that refuse to fade.